Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. It's working. Hello out there, folks. How are you this week? Thank you once again for joining me. We certainly had a whole bunch going on. We had, I told you last week about Hillary Clinton, who was going to make some big announcement the following day after I released the show. Of course, she did make that announcement on Sunday via email and Twitter and a video. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, Hillary took her campaign on the road. This is getting funnier and funnier by the day. We'll talk about life in the Scooby-Doo van in Iowa. We had a bunch of jib-jab going on between Rand Paul and the snot-nosed brat cheerleader, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Both of them refused to answer the question posed to them. We'll talk about that. The war on women is going into high gear. This has a lot to do with the whole Rand Paul, Debbie Wasserman Schultz situation. We'll take a look at that. All of that right here, right now on this, The Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. Thank you so much for listening in today. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, if you just want to rant or vent, maybe you just want to tell me to shut up, you feel free. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. Now, as I said, Hillary made her announcement last Sunday. Seems like it was forever ago, but now I told you what I think the announcement should be. In fact, I said I think it better be if she is going to try to earn my vote. It would certainly be a good place to start. I said what she needs to do is to apologize. She needs to seriously go all the way back to Arkansas, First Lady of Arkansas, when she was with the Rose Law Firm. She can start there and just apologize for pretty much every event in her entire life. You talk about a war on women. Hillary Clinton waged her own personal war on some personal women. I mean, actual women, not just, women in general. Of course, these were the women that were victimized by her serial adulterer husband, President Bill Clinton. She can start with an apology to those women. She can apologize to General Petraeus for calling him a liar before he even testified. She can apologize to the families of the people that were lost in Benghazi for failing to secure that facility, the embassy, after repeated requests were sent her way. Please send some security here. The ambassador, Chris Stevens, understanding how bad the situation was getting. She can apologize to the American people for lying about some stupid video, blaming the obviously planned and well-orchestrated attack on the embassy on a video. She can apologize for destroying evidence. She can apologize for her crew down in the basement of the State Department pulling files and literally just pulling and shredding files. Anything that makes her look bad. She can apologize for that. And she can apologize for wiping the server that had our emails on it. She can apologize for that. That would be a good start. Just apologize for all of that. And then maybe I would begin to take you seriously, Mrs. Clinton. But that's not what she did. No, instead, Mrs. Clinton said this.
I'm getting ready to do something too. I'm running for president. Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times, but the deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top.
Americans have fought their way back from tough economic times. Is that true? Do you feel as if you have fought your way back from tough economic times? We are no longer experiencing tough economic times? Is that the case that she's making? Is that seriously what she expects us to believe? And then, of course, she said, but the deck is still stacked for those at the top. Well, okay, so what she's doing is positioning herself to run against Obama's policies? Is that what she's doing? So she's going to go up there and her message is, hey, Obama's policies are a failure. So elect me so I can give you more of the same? Is this going to be her message? Let's exchange one Liberal Democrat for another liberal Democrat. Let's have some more of the same. What's been going on these past 6.5 years? Why is the deck still stacked against those at the top? You know, for 2 of those 6 years, Democrats had the White House, they had the House, they had the Senate. They could pass whatever they wanted. And they did in some cases. Why didn't they solve this injustice back then? Now, of course, if you ask them, well, the Republicans are party of no, that's what they would say now, because the Republicans have stopped, or tried to do their best. Well, I guess I can't even say that. John Boehner just kind of, Mr. John Cave Master Boehner, rolling over every chance he gets to give Obama what he wants. Well, we lost. You got to love that. John Boehner comes out with stuff like, he's going to burn himself. But then he just, we tried, we lost, we bluffed. He called our bluff. Oh, well, we lose. But anyway, don't get me started on Boehner. She's going to go out there and say, hey, let's do more of the same. Elect me. Elect another Democrat to replace this Democrat we've had for the past 6 years. And then things will get, well, no, they are better. Because we have fought our way back from tough economic times. That's what she said. So even though the deck is stacked against us, we fought our way back. Isn't that awesome?
Everyday Americans need a champion, and I want to be that champion.
Everyday Americans need a champion. And she wants to be that champion. You know, this woman is a case of somebody who was in the right place at the right time, way back in college. She met the right people, and this is where she is today. This woman in another life is a Walmart greeter, and not even a good one. But she's going to be the champion of the American people who have already fought back without her. We've already fought our way back from tough economic times. But she's going to be our champion because the deck is stacked against her, people at the top, people like her.
So you can do more than just get by. You can get ahead.
She's going to help us do more than just get by. She's going to help us get ahead. Is that what we're doing now? We're getting by? We fought back from the tough economic times, and now we're just getting by? But she's going to help us get ahead.
And stay ahead, because when families are strong, America is strong. So I'm hitting the road to earn your vote, because it's your time, and I hope you'll join me on this journey.
It's my time, and she wants me to join her on this journey. The journey, she's going to try to earn my vote. Well, Mrs. Clinton, you already failed step 1. You failed step 1, which was apologize for your atrocities as First Lady, your atrocities as Senator of New York, your atrocities as Secretary of State. First, you need to apologize for that. Then we'll talk about earning my vote. But Hillary pressed on. She went on the road. She went into, now if you haven't seen it, of course there's no audio for me to play for you, but this is hilarious. She goes into Chipotle and goes up to the counter. She's got the dark sunglasses on. Of course, Hillary does not condescend to speak to people. That's for, her people to do. She has people for that. She has people for speaking to people. But Huma, her right-hand gal, Anthony Weiner's wife or ex-wife, I don't know what's going on with that. But Huma does the ordering and I guess the paying. Hillary, she doesn't carry any money. She doesn't condescend to speak to anybody. And they leave the Chipotle, and no one ever knew they were there. The employees, the manager, they had no idea. They had no idea that was Hillary Clinton. Hillary freaking Clinton walked into their place of establishment, and they did not know who it was. And she didn't introduce herself. Well, you didn't earn their vote. You want to earn somebody's vote, you at least got to talk to them. You got to introduce yourself. Then we come to find out later, everybody in that little restaurant had been vetted. They had been vetted and handpicked and placed in there. They were just all props, except for the people working there. The people sitting in the seats out at the tables, These were, Hillary's people's people that they chose to be in this place so that Hillary Clinton could walk in, ignore everybody, and then leave with some food and spending, I think, $21 or something. If you heard Karl Rove the other night, he was on Fox News and he said it looked like these two were on the lam. She goes in there with those dark sunglasses on, like she doesn't want to be recognized. I mean, real Thelma and Louise, her and Huma. But anyway, then she had a round table event. She went into this garage. Now, if you have worked in a garage before, a mechanic shop, then you know that stuff gets dirty. Auto parts get dirty, but in this garage, I mean, you could eat off the floor in this place. She's got 2 brand new alternators sitting behind her, all shiny. There's other, parts there sitting there. All the tools are shiny. I mean, it was almost like it was a set. One of the things that George Lucas stressed when he was filming Star Wars is he told the people that were in charge of the props and the sets, he said he wants it to look lived in. He doesn't want it to look brand new. He didn't want stuff all shiny. He wanted stuff to look beat up and lived in. This did not look lived in. This auto mechanic shop did not look worked in. It looked like some clean building that they moved cars and rolled toolboxes in and set these auto parts out. I mean, I don't know if that's what they did, but it sure looked that way. Either that or somebody knew that they were coming there and months in advance began to clean this place and get the dirty stuff out. You got a shop, you got, there's transmissions on the floor, there's a pile of parts here, there's a bucket of bolts there, there's, some people like to use coffee cans when they're taking stuff apart, they put all their bolts and nuts and washers. There was none of that. There was a couple of cars with the hoods up and all of these brand new auto parts. Well, she goes in there and she almost gives pretty much the same speech that she gave in her little opening or her little video announcement. This is part of what she said at the roundtable event.
I think we all know that Americans have come back from some pretty tough economic times. And our economy and our country are much better off because American families have basically done whatever it took to make it work.
So we've come back from tough economic times. Americans have done whatever it takes to make it work. We are Americans, hear us roar. Well, if we can do it, and we can do it on our own, well then, why do we need you, Mrs. Clinton? We even did it under Obama. Somebody who's trying to kill jobs. Somebody who's trying to destroy the economy. Somebody who's trying to spend us into oblivion. We even did it under those circumstances. So if we can do it, why do we need you? Tell us why we need you.
I think it's fair to say that as you look across the country, the deck is still stacked in favor of those already at the top.
The deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top. That's why we need her. Because the deck is stacked against people like her. Line almost word for word in her opening video. And again, this is going to beg the question. Why, after 6 years of Obama, especially after the 2 years when the Democrats held everything and could have passed whatever they wanted, why is the deck still stacked in favor of those at the top? Why was that injustice not properly solved? We need an answer to this question before we can move on, because Mrs. Clinton, you're going to be a whole lot of the same as Mr. Obama. So we need an answer to that first.
There's something wrong with that. There's something wrong when CEOs make 300 times more than the typical worker. There's something wrong when American workers keep getting more productive, as they have, and as I just saw a few minutes ago, is very possible because of education and skills training, but that productivity is not matched in their paychecks.
So there's something wrong when CEOs make 300 times more than the average worker. Is that really what's wrong? The CEO, maybe the business owner, the person at the top, the person who, a lot of these stories, a lot of the stories of these big wealthy people that did build that, a lot of the stories, they start out, they had humble beginnings. They started out with very little, and they built that business from the ground up. These are the people who took the risks. These are the people who thought someday this is going to be worth it. These are the people who worked their fingers to the bone. The children of these people will tell you they never saw Dad. He was always busy, working 100 hours a week or more, trying to get his business off the ground. These are the people who will tell you what it takes, the hard work that it takes to build a business from the ground up. And then once it's up and running, years later, they are the CEO and they make a lot more than the employees. Well, that's because of trickle-down economics. That's how that works. If these people don't have any incentive to go out there and be entrepreneurs and get the big payoff that comes with taking the risk, then there's not going to be any investment. And if there's no investment, there's not going to be any jobs. The rest of it's not going to happen. It's not going to fall into place. There's not going to be any trickling down going on. I recall you saying a while back, trickle-down economics doesn't work. That it's been tried and it has failed. Isn't that what you said?
Don't let anybody tell you that, it's corporations and businesses that create jobs. You know, that old theory, trickle-down economics. That has been tried. That has failed. It has failed rather spectacularly.
No, it's been tried and it does work. The entrepreneur takes the risk. The business grows or it fails. If the business fails, the entrepreneur doesn't get the payoff. The entrepreneur doesn't make 300 times what his employees make. But the entrepreneur learns a lesson and he tries again. And this time he does it even better. Or someone else learns from his mistake and tries and is willing to make that investment. That's what business is all about, Mrs. Clinton. But you have no idea. You can't even fathom what it's about. Because what have you spent your life doing? You worked at Rose Law Firm. I think that was the last real job you've ever had where you actually had to produce something. You talked about production in there too. Production of the American people, the workforce. We have 92 million people not working in this country, Mrs. Clinton. You call that productivity? That's less productivity. We have more people on welfare and food stamps than ever. That's not good, Mrs. Clinton. We have not fought our way back from tough economic times. You're already wrong or lying, but you're trying to earn our vote, right?
And there's something wrong when hedge fund managers pay lower tax rates than nurses or the truckers that I saw on I-80 as I was driving here over the last 2 days.
So there's something, we've been through this too, with the fact that Warren Buffett, everybody's trying to say he pays less taxes than his secretary, and that's not true. Yeah, he pays a lower percentage because we don't want to punish that, right? We don't want to punish investment. We don't want to punish somebody who's in the position to create wealth and to trickle down wealth onto employees, to create jobs, to give people opportunity. We don't want to destroy that. We don't want to hurt that, right? We want to create the incentive to do that. So Economics 101, Mrs. Clinton, when you want to create incentive, you lower the tax rate. When you want to punish inactivity, you increase the tax rate. Economics 101.
And there's something wrong when students and their families have to go deeply into debt to be able to get the education and skills they need in order to make the best of their own lives.
I agree 100%. Something very wrong with that. So what are you going to do, Mrs. Clinton, about big education? What are you going to do about that? I'll tell you what you should do. You get government out of it. Every time government increases how much they're going to put towards education, these big colleges, all they do is they raise their tuition fees to match what the government's doling out, and we're back to square one. So you're going to start reducing what the government gives out, right? Which is going to cause these colleges to have to reduce their tuition fees. Is that what you're going to do? Yeah, maybe they won't be, holding classes in these big, huge marble buildings anymore, but, then maybe people could afford it. And they won't be crazy in debt when they get out. Better yet, just take government out of it altogether. Let's just do that. Let's not reward these ridiculous, they are liberal institutions, aren't they? So, yeah, they're going to be rewarded. And the more liberal you are, the more rewarded you're going to be. The more expensive it is, so the more rewarded you're going to be. I guess that's just the way it works here in America. So what are you going to do, Mrs. Clinton, about big education? What are you going to do about that? We'll be back. Stay right there.
You're listening to The Rainwater Show. Resistance is futile.
I came home last night and my door was smashed open. It's like they knew right where to go. Like they'd been in my house before. They got my cameras, the silver, the coins. My husband's beautiful old shotgun. They took my jewelry. I can't believe it. It's all gone.
Each year, more than 4 million homes are burglarized in the U.S. Keep your valuables safe and secure with a safe that gives you an extra margin of protection. A Liberty safe is built tough and offers the most technologically advanced security features available. Plus, Liberty safes are independently certified for residential security, and they're built right here in the U.S. Don't take a chance when it comes to your home security. Purchase a Liberty safe for the things you value most.
Some things can be replaced. Some just can't.
To learn more, go to libertysafe.com.
Shocking news. 666, the mark of the beast in the NIV. God said, mansaid.com.
Bible rewires addicts' brains. Geologists floored by water rock. God said, mansaid.com.
Dinosaurs and man contemporaneously. Hours of text and audio. God said, mansaid.com.
Radiometric dating and a 6,000-year-old Earth. Honey and the finger of God. Free love's deadly superbug. God said, mansaid.com.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Ray Warner Show, hosted by me, Ray Warner. If you want to email the show, if you have any questions for me, if you have any comments, any concerns, you feel free. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. Now, I've got more stuff on Hillary Clinton here, but I just want to move on. I could talk about her forever, it seems. What great accomplishment did she put forth when she ran for Senate? Ask yourself that. She ran for Senate and she won. What was her platform? What could she point to in her history and say, see what I did? Vote for me for the Senate. And all I remember, before that, when she was First Lady, she was given health care and just botched it. And as Senator, the only memorable event I have is when she literally called General Petraeus a liar to his face before he even testified. Remember, she came out with some ridiculous, the willing suspension of disbelief, whatever she was trying to say. She was calling him a liar before he even testified. That's all I remember about her time in the Senate. And then, of course, Secretary of State. As Secretary of, what qualifications did she possibly have to be Secretary of State? And she botched that. Her actions as Secretary of State were criminally negligent. But this is what she's pointing to, her experience as First Lady, her experience as Senator of New York, and her experience as Secretary of State. And now she wants to be president. She wants to take all that good stuff and earn our vote as president. I want to move on to this jib-jab going on between Rand Paul and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Rand Paul was at a press conference. He was taking questions, and he was asked a question about abortion. This is how it went down.
Senator, the DNC is picking up in your comments you made with AP this morning on abortion. And I just want to know where you do stand on exemptions. Should there be any exemptions for abortion or not?
What's the DNC say? I guess here's the question. We always seem to have the debate way over here on what are the exact details of exemptions or when it starts. Why don't we ask the DNC, is it okay to kill a 7-pound baby in the uterus? You go back and you ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz if she's okay with killing a 7-pound baby that is just not yet born yet. Ask her when life begins, and you ask Debbie when she's willing to protect life. When you get an answer from Debbie, come back to me.
Now that is great stuff. We got Russia selling missiles to Iran. We've got Hamas ramping up for war again, rebuilding their tunnel infrastructure, rebuilding their rocket arsenal. We got Iran spinning centrifuges in their nuclear program. We've got a failure as Secretary of State right now, John Kerry, who pretty much lost everything in these negotiations with Iran. We've got an economy that's a disaster. We've got 92 million Americans out of work, record number of people on food stamps and welfare. We've got a border crisis that hasn't gone away. The border is still unsecured. We still have Hillary voters on their way to the polls. And what does this idiot reporter ask Rand Paul? Where do you stand on abortion? This is the big question this reporter came up with. Where do you stand on abortion? And I love how Rand Paul just turned this thing around. Go ask the DNC. Go ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz if she believes it's okay to kill a 7-pound baby. And when you get an answer, you come back. I love that. And the media did that. They asked her. Megyn Kelly had the snot-nosed brat cheerleader on her show, The Kelly File, and had this exchange.
He keeps saying, ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz when life begins. When does she believe life begins? Can you answer that question?
The question that he was asked and that he's trying to deflect from by pushing it on me is, does he support exceptions to his opposition to a woman's right to make her own choices?
I give you that point. I see the point.
And
he has not been explicit on it. But I'm wondering about you, because I have you tonight.
So from my perspective, from my party's perspective, we do not support rolling back the protection that the constitutional right to make your own reproductive choices established in Roe versus Wade has given to women.
So you hear the snot-nosed brat cheerleader is just not going to answer the question. What she said in her roundabout way is, we support the protections, she called them, the protections given to women to make their own choices. That's how she worded it. So here's how I'm going to word it. You, snot-nosed brat cheerleader, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you support killing a child that weighs 7 pounds. That's what Rand Paul asked, and if we decode your answer properly, that's what you're saying. Now, she refuses to answer this question, and she wants to turn it right back around on Rand Paul, and then Rand Paul wants to turn it right back around on what we've got here is two people, neither one willing to answer the question. This is why I think it's funny, and we're just stuck watching this ping pong match. Rand Paul, now this is where Rand Paul gets shaky with a lot of conservatives, because if he would just stand on principle, stand on good morals and good principle, and say, yes, it's wrong to kill a child in the womb. Why don't he just say that? But he's just not going to do that. He's not going to stand on principle. And, of course, the snot-nosed brat cheerleader doesn't have any morals. She doesn't have any principle. She thinks it's okay to just kill a child up to birth, maybe even including birth. Does she believe in partial birth abortion? Now, this is where this situation gets really sticky. See, there are some people who argue, well, in the first trimester, it's okay. And there are some people who say, well, even in the second trimester, it's okay. And then you got some people saying, well, in the third trimester, okay, it's okay. Now, this is where you're talking about the 7-pound baby. In the third trimester, from 6 months on, you've got a child that can live outside the mother's womb. But she supports killing that child, if that's what the woman chooses to do. That's not her body. That's the child's body. But if she's willing to kill it, the snot-nosed brat cheerleader backs up that decision. And then you have people who, and this is just absolutely horrific, they believe in partial birth abortion, and that is exactly what it means. The child is partially birthed. The head comes out. The head is exposed. You have a living child ready to enter the world. And the quote-unquote doctor, who's pledged to do no harm, then inserts something into the child's skull through the soft spot and scrambles the brain, effectively extinguishing a living child. Not effectively, extinguishing, killing the child. The child was alive, and now it's dead. They've taken the life from that child. That's partial birth abortion. And then they pull the rest of the child out. See, and the excuse is, well, it wasn't fully born, it's partial birth. And then you have these super wackos. You know, as bad as liberals get, there's always one that's worse. And there's these people, I've even heard that you should be allowed to abort a child up until 2 years old. To me, that's just insane. A 2-year-old child can walk, can run, can speak, is potty trained, might even start learning the ABCs. And at any time, these parents, up until 2 years old, can just abort the child. Whoever came up with this, you're just sick in the head. If you believe this is acceptable, aborting up to 2 years old, you need help. You seriously need help. You know, as bad as some liberals are, there's always those liberals who, and I mean foam at the mouth liberals. You know, they just start foaming at the mouth because you disagree. These kind of super kook fringe militant liberals. But anyway, getting back to the abortion issue, Wolf Blitzer had Rand Paul on. Okay, Debbie Wasserman Schultz sent it back to Rand, and so Wolf Blitzer is going to try to get an answer out of Rand Paul.
Well, it sounds like her answer is yes, that she's okay with killing a 7-pound baby. But the interesting thing is, I understand our country's polarized on the issue, and not everybody agrees on the issue. But even most of my friends who are pro-choice will tell me they're not okay with 7 and 8 and 9-pound abortions. They're not okay with really end stage when the baby's fully developed. You know, there's a bit of doubt and discussion earlier in pregnancy. But Debbie's position, which I guess is the Democrat Party position, that an abortion all the way up until the day of birth would be fine, I think really most pro-choice people would be a little uncomfortable with that. So I don't know. I really think that she's got some explaining to do.
So again, he's not going to answer the question, but he's responding to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, reiterating what the Democrat Party line is on this. It's okay to murder a child up until it's born. And I guess that's not going to include, well, would that include partial birth abortion even? For some people, unfortunately, it does. Now, Wolf also had Debbie on his show, and this is the exchange he had with the snot-nosed brat cheerleader.
He said this. He said, ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz if it's okay to kill a 7-pound baby in uterus. Is that your position and the position of the party?
Rand Paul spent his entire first day as a candidate for president arguing with me over a woman's right to make her own reproductive choices. The Democratic Party's position is that that decision is best left between a woman and her doctor.
But is he right when he says that it's okay, from your perspective, to kill a 7-pound baby in uterus? Is that your position?
We have very different definitions of personal liberty. I made that clear in my response. The Democratic Party's position, we are pro-choice. We believe that a decision on a woman's reproductive choices is best left between a woman and her doctor. But Rand Paul's first day out of the gate as a candidate for president was spent not talking about the issues that matter the most to Americans, the economy, jobs, and help people reach the middle class. It was debating me on abortion.
Why do you think that is, snot-nosed brat cheerleader? Why did he spend his first day debating you rather than answering serious questions about the economy and jobs? Is because this stupid reporter asked this dumb question. If the Democrat Party could stop putting forth this war on women as if it's actually happening, other than with Hillary Clinton, then maybe we could get to some serious issues. Maybe we could. This is the question he was asked by the media. Yeah, you're right. It's not important. Let's talk about the Abomination. Let's talk about how Obama is killing jobs and what he's going to do to turn this train wreck of an economy around. I agree, snot-nosed brat cheerleader. Let's talk about it. Stay there. We'll be right back.
The Ray Warner Show is now available in all 58 states.
I've now been in 57 states. I think one left to go.
You're listening to The Ray Warner Show. John and I just couldn't afford health insurance anymore. We exercise, we eat right, and we live a healthy lifestyle. Yet we were paying over $800 per month for a family of 4. Then a friend told us about MediShare. MediShare isn't insurance. It's a nationwide network of Christians who save money by sharing in each other's medical bills. Our share is almost 40% less than our old insurance premiums. We still see the same doctors and use the same hospitals if something does happen. The best part is that participating in MediShare exempts us from the tax penalties in the new health reform laws. So as long as we're in the program, the government's mandates to buy expensive insurance won't apply. You should call them today. I'm sure glad we did.
If you're a Christian under 65 and a non-smoker, then MediShare could be the right choice for you. Call 1-866-330-8585 or visit meta-share.org. You do have a choice.
Are you concerned about your privacy? Identity theft? Corporate eavesdropping? Who's listening in on your confidential calls? Silent Circle's innovative suite of encrypted communication services allows you the privacy you need and the ease of use you deserve. We've built a customized system focused on security, simplicity, and service, fashioned from the ground up by our team of world-renowned experts with no logging, no data farming, and no backdoors of any kind for anyone. When a Silent Circle subscriber makes a phone call, sends a text, or exchanges a file with another Silent Circle member, that transmission is encrypted, peer-to-peer, end-to-end, direct from your own mobile device or personal computer. With the addition of OutCircle access, you can even call individuals outside the circle knowing you're still encrypted to and from the silent network. Whether you're a small business concerned with corporate espionage, a governmental organization tasked to safeguard sensitive operations, or an individual protecting your family, you can trust Silent Circle's user-friendly apps and services to provide you with an affordable alternative to the risk you've had to accept until now. Silent Circle's groundbreaking global platform is the world's standard for secure mobile communications. Send a secure text across town or whisper in someone's ear 10,000 miles away. Silent Circle has revolutionized how the world communicates securely. Get in the circle.
Yes, let us pray for the salvation of all of those who live in that totalitarian darkness. They are the focus of evil in the modern world. But if history teaches anything, it teaches that simple-minded appeasement or wishful thinking about our adversaries is folly. It means the betrayal of our past, the squandering of our freedom. So I urge you to speak out against those who would place the United States in a position of military and moral inferiority, to ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire, and thereby remove yourself from the struggle between right and wrong and good and evil. Any objective observer must hold a positive view of American history, a history that has been the story of hopes fulfilled and dreams made into reality. America has kept alight the torch of freedom, but not just for ourselves, but for millions of others around the world. We must never forget that no government schemes are going to perfect man. We know that living in this world means dealing with what philosophers would call the phenomenology of evil, or as theologians would put it, the doctrine of sin. There is sin and evil in the world, and we're enjoined by Scripture and the Lord Jesus to oppose it with all our might. We will never compromise our principles and standards. We will never give away our freedom. We will never abandon our belief in God.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. If you want to email the show, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, any feedback for me, the email address is The Ray Warner Show, one word, The Ray Warner Show @gmail.com. You know, I have a question for the snot-nosed brat cheerleader. Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I have a question for the DNC on abortion. Tell me when it's inert. Tell me not when life begins. Tell me. See, this is the problem. The question that they're arguing is really, when does consciousness begin? They believe plant life is alive, right? Plant life is living. It's living tissue, if you will. It's alive. You have a living egg cell. I mean, if the egg cell is dead, it's not gonna work. If the sperm cell is dead, it's not going to work. These two things must come together under the right circumstances, and they must both be alive and functioning. They must both be living tissue. And the cell, it's a living tissue, it's a living cell, and it will divide into some more living cells. It's never inert. Tell me, snot-nosed brat cheerleader, when is it dead? Tell me that. When is it dead, and then come to life and become a child? When is that? It's never inert. It's life began in the Garden of Eden. God breathed into the nostrils of man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. He then created woman, Eve, from the rib of the man, and mankind has been alive ever since. It is never inert. It's never not alive. That's my point. So answer me that question. When is it inert? When does it come to life after being inert? Now, there was an article in Breitbart that I wanted to take a look at, because this is something that's kind of being done under the table. And, I'll just read it. The headline says, Orrin Hatch's Finance Committee moves forward with secret unannounced hearing to give Obama fast-track trade authority. Anything that's happening under the table is never a good idea. You'll hear people talk about, smoke-filled backroom deals going on and whatever. This is the kind of stuff that goes on, and then they pass these things in the dead of night or on Friday afternoon when no one's paying attention. But anyway, here's the article. Americans for Limited Government President Rick Manning warned earlier this week about an unscheduled and unannounced secret hearing by the Senate Finance Committee Chairman, Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican of Utah. The Thursday hearing was not announced on the committee's website earlier this week, and was not on the committee calendar, according to the press office, until yesterday. Senator Orrin Hatch apparently plans to hold a hearing that has not been officially announced on a trade promotion bill nobody has seen yet because it's not finished, on a Pacific trade deal that nobody can read because it's secret, Manning alleged in a statement issued Tuesday. He adds that Senate Republicans are holding the Finance Committee hearing to provide President Obama with fast-track trade authority. Fast-track limits the constitutional requirement for treaty ratification. Is that a good idea? Fast track limits, let me read this again. Fast track limits the constitutional requirement for treaty ratification to a simple majority rather than a 2/3 Senate vote requirement, warned Manning. He adds, the controversy is over a 99% completed trade deal, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade deal which is so hush-hush that Obama officials limited briefings on environmental portions of it to staff with secret or above clearance levels. It is shameful that Republicans have not only backed away from requirements to have bills posted in advance of votes so the public has the opportunity to read them, but this new blind committee hearing process rivals the opaqueness of the Pelosi-Reed reign. Breitbart News attempted to contact Hatch's office for comment, and that's how the article ends, so I'm assuming they did not get any comment. So is this what Obama needs? Fast-track authority to create trade deals that don't need to be ratified through Congress with a 2/3 majority? They only need a simple majority? They'll just need 51 votes? He could act like his Iran deal is somehow some trade thing and shove it through that way. I still say he's going to take his Iran deal to the UN to get what he wants. But this is not a good idea to give Barack I this kind of power. And that's going to do it for this week, folks. Thanks for listening in today. Don't forget, if you want to email me, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, any problems with something I've said, you feel free to drop me a line. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. And don't forget, I don't know how you listen to The Ray Warner Show and The Ray Warner Quick Reports, but there are many ways you can listen. If you go to theraywarnershow.com, you can subscribe and you'll get a link in your email. You can also download it from the website. You can subscribe at The Ray Warner Show YouTube channel. Every show and Quick Report is posted on the YouTube channel and on the Facebook and on the Twitter. You can get the show and subscribe at iTunes. You can also download from iTunes. However you listen, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. So long.